Welcome to another War Game review from theplayersaid.com. I'm Grant.
And I'm Alexander.
Today we actually played a prototype of a game that is coming up on Kickstarter, I think in the next month or so. The game is called Battle Ravens. It is a war-themed game with some Euro mechanics, some pretty cool economic or economy of actions.
Action economy.
And actually really great graphics and art. I think it's a really sharp looking game.
Yes.
From Plastic Soldier Company. The game plays in about 45 to 60 minutes. It's a two-player only game. And I did not look at who's the designer?
Daniel Mercy.
Daniel Mercy. Okay. Sorry about that. But overall, very fun. I think a very interactive game. It is a light game. You could play this with, I believe, your older children.
Yeah. 10,
12. You could also play this we could play this with our spouses.
Yes.
I think Kelly and Paisley would understand and pick this up.
Yeah, this is much simpler than most of the war games that we play.
Right.
It's kind of an abstract game, really.
Yep.
You just have a bunch of areas that are yours, and you have a shield wall with 36 guys in it.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to basically break the other person's shield wall, who is literally directly in front of you, and take
area.
3 of their 6 spaces. They're trying to take 3 of your 6 spaces.
Yeah.
It's a game that reminds me, not necessarily mechanics-wise, but feel-wise, of something like Stratego, where anyone can learn to play this game, but you can get into some really cool meta strategies depending on who you play with and how you play, and that's where the action economy comes in. But it's also just a very abstracted war game.
Right.
Here's a bunch of areas. All you have to do is take them. And you do that by killing everyone in that space, and when it's vacant, your guys just move in afterwards. So you don't have this big, huge tactical board. It's just, here's some block areas.
Right.
But, with a game as simple as that, like you mentioned, these are kind of cardboard cutouts to kind of show you those big close-ups. They got great standees, and they look great. This being from Plastic Soldier Company games, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know any inside knowledge, but I'm sure on the Kickstarter they might have some extra stuff to add in, right?
Right.
Some of their games you get figurines and things, but I don't know about that. But if not, this is fantastic how it is anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not missing anything, not having miniatures.
Yeah. So it's the Norsemen or Vikings versus the Anglo-Saxons. And they're asymmetric in only if you use the tactics cards.
Which are optional.
Right. It's an advanced rule. So if you're playing the basic game, both sides are the same.
Yep.
If you play the advanced game, you're going to draw 5 of 10 available tactics cards. And like I said, these are specific to those factions.
Yeah, and this gives you a reroll or a reinforcement, or lets you do a special attack action or things like that. Just a nice little nuance. And frankly, you could play with those with your first game if you wanted to.
Yeah.
They say, it's like an optional additional rule.
And they do talk in the rules about use of those tactics cards will be a little imbalanced sometimes because you might draw the 4 or 5 cards that aren't necessarily totally useful, and the other side may draw all the rerolls and the automatic kills or those kinds of things.
But, and the difference with that being is if you play without those, it's just straight your pieces, where you put out your ravens, which we'll get to, and then it's, by balance they mean it's a dice off. Right.
Yeah, and that's what this game is basically. It's a roll-off in order to do combat damage. The one thing I do like about the combat is there are 3 different types of units. There are, and I'm going to butcher these names, maybe you should say the names.
So there's Hearthmen, I want to say it's Bondi, might be Bondi, or some other pronunciation.
Right.
And then there's Thralls. And your Thralls are your little archers in the back.
They're rerolls.
That's effectively a reroll counter for an attack.
Yeah.
Your Hearthmen are your big, strong, armored warriors, your professional soldiers. They can absorb 2 hits. And your Bondi are your little peasants.
Your militia.
Yeah, they're militia. They just have some little pointy sticks and some, their father's shield. And They're just one hit, kind of your meat bags there.
But it's kind of cool because in each space, you start with 3 units of the heavier guys that can absorb 2 hits. 3 of the guys that can only absorb 1. And, when the attacker attacks you, if he does, say, 4 hits worth of damage, you have to make decisions about what units are going to either absorb those losses, or, we'll talk about this in a moment, you're going to use your action tokens to decide to roll some dice and to try to block those attacks. So I really liked that because I thought there were a lot of meaningful decisions in that.
Yes.
If you really wanted to get, be strategic about it, you might roll 1 more dice than you normally would.
Yes.
Understanding that you're kind of sacrificing your offensive potential.
Or is it, do I gamble on the dice and I roll just fewer dice?
Right, just 1.
Maybe say, I can take a loss or 2 so that I can do an attack back. And that's really the heart of the game. If it's these Raven counters. And I have, Anglo-Saxons have 20 white counters, and the Norsemen have 20 red counters. And that's where the heart of the game is. Yeah. Is before you do any attacks or moves or anything like that, you have these 20 counters, and starting with the first player, you have to assign a certain number of those counters to each of these 6 lanes, so to speak. And then you basically only attack what's in front of you.
All right.
And
can't attack diagonally.
The first player's like, okay, I'm going to put 3 ravens in this one. And then the opposing player says, well, I'm going to put 6 ravens over in this one.
So you don't have to put them in the same spaces. You also don't have to put the same amount, but you can't go back.
Yeah, so
then put more action
3
tokens.
Here, or later on, he's going to put down 7 down here. Yeah. I can't be like,
I've changed my mind.
I need to put a few more in now. You cannot do that.
Right.
So and this is where the really cool part of this game, because it's as simple as it is, there's some really cool bluffing and strategy that you want from that gives you the cool fun in the game. Is I'm going to try and put a bunch over here to do a big attack, and then it's trying to cling on to these spaces over here with just a few, because you only have 20 of these, and once you're done with them, you're done with them.
Yeah. I liked, and you're going into this, but I really liked that cat and mouse. I'm going to put 3 here because, the reality is I have more guys there. I can absorb some hits, but I'm going to put 5 here because I want to finish you.
Yes.
There were a couple times in the last round, I lost, by the way. Alexander controlled 3 shield wall areas to my 0. I wanted to do, 5 hits to kill you. And I just couldn't roll well to get those number of hits. But I loved those choices, trying to figure out how many you were going to put down, the cat and mouse aspect of it. I didn't always start in the ones that I really cared about. I would start in one where I didn't really care.
Right, because as the first player, you put that first one out, and you don't want to give away your whole hand of what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do something sneaky, there's not that much sneaking around you can do. But you're like, I put 7 here. It's very obvious that you're either trying to do a huge attack, or you're doing an attack and you want to defend. Right. But once you've put all those out, then you get into the actions phase, and that's again where. So now you have all of these ravens assigned to each of these areas. You can use those. So it's my option. I'm going to do with these guys. I had 3 ravens assigned to that. I can spend 3 ravens to roll 3 dice to do an attack. Chuck the dice. And
you can do that if you have 5 guys in the space or 1 guy in the space. Yeah, it's about the number of ravens you spend.
As long as the guys in the spaces are your hit points, basically. Right. As long as you have 1 solitary guy, you can roll 7 dice if you put 7 ravens there. Yeah. Not a big deal. But I'm going to attack with 3 dice, looking for X amount of successes. However many successes you do, that's how many hit points you're going to inflict. While the opponent's got 4 ravens here. Let's say I roll 3 dice. Well,
that's a great roll.
That was incredible.
4 hits.
Let's say I roll 2 hits.
Right.
They're like, well, I've got 4 ravens. I'm going to only use 2 to defend with. They roll 2. If they block both of those, nothing happens. Right. But then all of a sudden, these guys have no ravens left on my side, but the enemy's got 2. So they're going to do 2 undefended attacks. So they wail on them, and then you start taking losses. So that's where that, how many do I defend with so I can go on the offensive? Or if the attacker rolls really well, and they do 4 hits on you, you're like, oh man, I got to use all 4 to ensure my guys don't die. Because if I kill the last guy at the end of the round, if there's no one there, I move in. Boom, that's 1/2, 3 victory points that I need.
Right.
So, and that's the other part of this is when you're placing the ravens, you can't go back to an area, But when taking the actions, I can just spend, I'm going to do one Raven.
One attack.
And then you can come back later, I'm going to do one more.
Right.
Pretty inefficient, but that way you can kind of bleed out more turns.
Yeah.
So that if the enemy uses all their Ravens in defense, you might have a couple things that you can do at the end to kind of shuffle some guys around, because you can move them from space to space to kind of clean areas in.
The other thing I really liked about the action selection was you could do a movement. And all you can do is move to your left or to your right, one space. There were some cards that I think
I had one where you could
two
move
spaces.
But you had to move two.
Right, you couldn't move just one. But that's cool. So if you have an area that's crumbling, your shield wall's crumbling, you might move a guy or two. But remember, that's going to cost you your Raven actions.
And it weakens the place you're taking them from.
Yeah. So it's a matter of, in some ways it's pressure luck. It's trying to understand how many can I get away with the minimum or to do the damage I needed. The other thing that I think what I ran into is I took so many losses at the beginning that I had to worry about moving guys to try and stave off you from taking all of those areas that had just, say, one guy in it. But I even liked that because I felt like there were choices, even in the fact that I was getting demolished. I had to decide, do I want to be defensive? Do I want to move guys around? And I felt like that was cool, even though I was losing. I also liked that when you would take a shield wall area, the loser has to discard 3 of their Ravens
permanently
tokens.
lose 3 Ravens. So that can snowball.
And that's kind
and
of
a game can swing.
Yeah, the rich getting richer. I think that's what I experienced. So it'd be cool to understand. Maybe I should have pushed harder to try to kill one of your areas to make sure you lost 3. Because I really disadvantaged myself. It was to the point where you could see the numbers. It was simply about numbers.
Yeah, that last round, it was like I just had stacks.
Right.
But the nice thing about that is, at the same time, this game is not a long game.
No, 40 to 45 minutes, so you're not spending 3 hours doing this.
And you can kind of see it turn, and so you're just like, all right, it's done.
Yeah,
it's gonna, and then you just play again.
Right. But I think a lot of times dice rolling is just, it's the element that, it needs to be there to decide combat.
Yeah.
But it's always the element that is just very hard to predict.
Yes.
It's the unpredictable. If you roll a 6 in this game, you get 2 successes or 2 hits.
Yes.
You rolled several 6s on some of your attacks, and it's like, it took 4 or 5 hits. And, that...
Or I'd do 4 hits and you roll 2 6s, and I was like...
Yeah, you block everything.
Just demoralizing.
So kind of an interesting... I liked that action economy. I liked the Ravens. They were even thematic. They had the Ravens were being put there, and they were feasting on the bodies of the defeated soldiers. So kind of cool.
The rule book's pretty funny. There's some cool theme in there where they're like, these thralls in the back shooting arrows. Yeah, they're just weaklings.
And I like the thralls. You can only use those rerolls on your attack dice, which I thought was cool. And you've got to manage those things as well. You don't want to do them all on your first attack. You want to kind of save them for an attack that really, really makes a difference.
So what we'll do is we'll show you just the board real quick. Obviously, you can see it right here. There's not a lot to show. We'll show you just a little bit more of those battle examples and wrap up with a few final thoughts.
So that...
So here's a look at the board. Again, you can see that it's not like a massive, huge board. Just kind of this long, thin thing. And it's just squares. These are just areas. And I have... These ones belong to me. And these ones belong to the enemy. And you start the game, you can't see, there's a ton of guys off board. You have 36 guys, which are split evenly. You have 18 of these heavy hearthmen, and then you have 18 of the weaker, the bondi. And you have 3 in each space to start with. And then you have 3 of these thralls, and these are your little archers. They're just a reroll. But you have a ton of them, and the board looks really kind of cluttered at first. And we found that because they say put the raven counters in the squares, that was kind of a mess. So we put the raven counters kind of behind them, so I can easily see them set across the table, but it weren't just reaching in and knocking everything over when you needed to. So you basically line all you guys up, and then you have 20 of these raven tokens. And if I'm the first player, I just start assigning them. So I say, I'm going to put 4 in this. That means I'm going to have 4 opportunities to do things. And this guy's got a bunch of dudes in here. It's his turn to place because you just place in alternating turn order. He says, well, I'm just going to put 3 of them here. Well, in this column over here, so there's a bunch of guys. He's like, I care. I say, I'm going to put 3 down here. He says, well, I care a lot more about this area because I need to do some damage to you. I'm going to put 5 out here. And you just go back and forth, alternating, placing all of these out. And then once you're done with that, that's when you kind of get to all the actions. And basically the actions are simply, you can either move or attack, or when it's not your turn, you can block. To attack, you just spend however many of these tokens you want to spend, and that's how many dice you roll. In this instance, 1, 2, 3 is a miss, 4 and a 5 is a hit, and a 6 is 2 hits. So this was there you go. So you got 2, 3 hits right there. And once that's adjudicated, the enemy gets an option. They say, I'm going to use 2 to block with. You can block with as many as you want. The same thing, rolling your dice. They have a 6, which is 2 successes. They block this, so only 1 hit gets through. And you have to take a hit on these Bondi. They take 1 hit point. You just throw them away. That's it. That's combat. You go back and forth doing that kind of thing. If ever you clear an area out, and at the end of the turn, you have guys here. They move forward and capture it. Once they capture that, the enemy permanently loses 3 ravens. Just stick them back in the box. So now they have fewer resources. Now the interesting part here is that these guys who kind of took this are effectively out of the game. You can't attack with them or feed them back anywhere else. They stick here. So what you want to make sure is when you're capturing an area, you're doing it with as few guys as possible. So that if you were able to move these guys out and then capture this, that's ideally what you want to do. But you can't leave too few guys there, say, I'm just going to capture it with these guys at the end of the round, because that happens at the very end. Because then he might be like, I've got 1 token here, I can move this guy in here. So I move a guy across, because then you can't capture it, and you've used up all your things, and you're like, So the game has this really nice back and forth to it. It's very, very enjoyable, it's very simple. All you have to do is capture 3 opposing areas, and then you win the game. Hoping that they don't capture 3 of yours, because then you would lose the game. The thralls can be used to reroll 1 of your attack dice, and you do all of that before the defender chooses how many dice they want to roll, so that way, it's kind of an even contest there. Sometimes you have these cards that can break the rules, give you some rerolls, do some bits and pieces, but really mechanically it's very, very, very simple. But the action economy placement and how you spend them based on your rolls has some really cool intricacy to it from a tactical standpoint. Had a really good time with that. So what I'll do is we'll just wrap up with a few final thoughts here.
That is a look at Battle Ravens. This is a game that's coming out on Kickstarter over the next couple of months from Plastic Soldier Company. Very interesting game. What were your thoughts?
My thoughts are that this is a good game to play with. This is a light game. This is a game you're going to have on the shelf with like Risk, Stratego,
right?
Those kind of games where it's like you don't have to be a war gamer to play this game.
No,
you don't have to be a Euro gamer to play this game.
Right.
This is just like put your guys out, chuck a bunch of dice. It's really fun. And once it gets to the end, those dice rolls get quite tense.
Yeah,
so that's fun. But you have this really interesting. The action economy is the part of the game that really struck me. Because I love, when I play worker placement or action economy games, having to put a different amount on there to kind of gamble on how much you can or want or will be able to do, that is something I really love. Because the decisions are more than just, I'm going to put 3 on everything. Yeah. And you've got to really...
Well, and it's kind of like bidding.
Yes.
Right?
And bidding is...
Yeah, you've seen your opponent put 3 down. Once again, remember, you can't come back and put more down. So you got to ask yourself, how many do I really want to put there? And it's akin to bidding, kind of bidding to have the advantage in that area, and to roll more dice or take more actions.
But because it's so small, the board is, you don't get bogged down in that.
No.
It goes along at a good clip, but you're like,
yeah.
When you're putting stuff down. And I really liked that part of the game. That was really cool.
Yeah. I also liked one other element that I thought was very cool. There are a lot of tactical elements in this.
I was surprised at how many there were, considering.
But understand, for instance, and when you looked at the board, you saw this example. Alexander was forced to use to basically put 3 of his best guys into a space to take it over, because that's just the way it ended up working out. You didn't move those guys out of those spaces, so in essence, you kind of wasted 2 guys.
If I could have kept 2 of those guys, moved them out, and only I could have taken a space with 1, that's what you're ideally trying to do.
And that's hard to do. I mean, you did do it with at least 2 other spaces, but I liked that element. I thought there were a lot of those really tactical decision points that you really had to make. What am I going to do here? Roll all 5 dice, roll 3 dice, save 2 for blocking. Am I going to try to move a guy out to help, somebody's other shield wall that's crumbling? I just think those were really well done. Game looks great.
Yes.
Love the art. I think the art is very nice.
And this is a prototype copy, remember.
Yeah.
So what you see here might not be the final production or anything like that. Although, when I see a prototype that is this good, I know you're going to get quality product.
Yeah.
If they sold me this, I would be happy with this.
Yeah.
So
I would
who
love
knows what else they're going to do with it.
Right. And there may be stretch goals. I think custom dice would be really cool.
I think that'd be dope.
Maybe the 6 is a double axe, and the 5's a single axe, and then the others are, whatever, daggers. Just, that would be really nice. But overall, really nice looking game that played fast.
Yeah,
quickly.
Rulebook's tiny, easy to learn. Anyone can play this game. But again, because we got it out and it's just a board with a bunch of squares in it, I was surprised at how much there was in the game.
Yeah.
It was a really fun little tight game.
A little deeper than I think we thought. It actually kind of reminded me of Catan. What's that Catan game where you're...
The 2-player one?
Yeah, the 2-player game.
It's called Catan Duel, maybe?
Yeah, no fighting in that one, really. There is some fighting, but it gave me that same feel of back and forth, trying to... Totally different game. I don't want you to think that's what this is, but it really gave me that feel of that duel against you, and I like that.
And see, it reminded me entirely, just from the feel standpoint, of
Stratego.
Remember Agamemnon from Osprey?
Yes.
Where that game is like, I put a guy here and I'm like, oh, it's a good thing, because you're like, haha, I go over
now
here.
I can do
the putting out the actions like that made me feel like that. That was a cool 2-player game, and this was like that too, where it's like, trying to set the game up so you can do what you want with fun.
Yeah, a lot more depth here than I think we thought there would be. Really enjoyed this. I think this is a sharp game that not going to be for everybody, not going to be for those that don't like dice rolling, and it's not going to be for those that don't like direct combat, because that's what this is about.
But you buy this, play it with the kids, and then from here you go on to Memoir 44, and then from there you go on to like Unconditional Surrender.
Right, exactly. Well, there may be another game in that step, but yeah, definitely a quality game. Once again, Battle Ravens from Plastic Soldier Company, coming to Kickstarter soon. I've been Grant.
And I've been Alexander.
For the Player's Aid, thank you.